What's up everyone, and welcome back to HateWatchers. Today we're doing our comedy breakdown and review of episode 4 of The Mandalorian, entitled The Foundling. Let's jump right into it. And of course, spoilers ahead. We open up on this backwater planet where the Mandalorians of Clan Whiteclaw are having a good old-fashioned drunken riot. In their drunken stupor, they attack the water that they claim is creeping up the shore toward them, coming in waves. You knew someone was gonna get crabs at this blowout, but would you have guessed it would be Grogu? Grogu's been talking, more like slurring, some mad shit, and this punk kid challenges him to a fight. Bo Katan gives Grogu a wristwatch so he'll always know when it's ass-kicking time. The snot-nosed kid shoots him with paintballs to make it look like he's got green nipples. Grogu has a seizure or something, and then shoots the kid 3 times. One for each time his mom. As punishment for losing, the kid has to go live with his mom, who is apparently a dragon. The kid's father and some other Mandalorians jet off after it to recover the kid's helmet. That shit's expensive. Bo Katan takes off after it in her ship, eventually finding the dragon's lair. All of the main Mandalorian characters meet on Ho's ship to plan their mission to the dragon's nest. Grogu stays behind, where he watches the armorer making a new set of Beskar panties. As Grogu is imagining what pounding the armorer would be like, he's pushed into a PTSD flashback of Order 66. In the flashback, some Jedi are protecting Grogu, yelling about getting him to someone named Kelleran as they kill clone troopers that are just doing their job. Master Jar Jar awaits Grogu as the elevator door opens, and he fucks off a ton of clone troopers. Then he speeder jacks someone and takes off, but the cops arrive quickly and open fire without hesitation. He leads them into a train tunnel, then comes out at the courtyard from last week's episode because apparently Disney's broke ass needs to reuse sets. The Jedi expertly lands the speeder next to a Nubian cruiser. The cops catch up to him, however, so he steals these guys' ship. He and Grogu escape the popo and blast into hyperspace, when the armorer banging a steel drum pulls Grogu back to reality. The armorer presents Grogu with a giant spinning gangster chain. We move over to Ho and the bros as they approach the dragon's nest, but they decide to make s'mores and bro out before saving the kid. Everyone gets their food and leaves to poop in the woods at the same time. After 11 hours of sleep because they're not on a deadline or anything, they begin their ascent to the peak. They reach the nest and Paz Vizsla charges ahead to get back custody of his kid when a bunch of naked turkeys start gobbling. Mama shows up and pukes up the snot-nosed kid, and Paz hits her right in the mouth, but accidentally gives the dragon a 2-for-1. The Mandalorians take off after the quarreling divorced parents, and even with a jetpack, Bo Katan is a real woman driver. Mando saves the kid and sells him back to his father. An ice cream truck lands near the coven, and everyone rushes over. The armorer tells Ho that she's hungry, and Ho says, "I hope you're a Master Baster, because I brought back 3 giant turkeys." Ho needs to replace one of her pauldrons and requests that it be adorned with the sigil of the Mythosaur. Speaking of Mythosaurs, Ho can't keep her mouth shut for just 10 minutes and just needs to tell someone about it. So she tells the armorer that she saw a Mythosaur, as the armorer just spouts some confusing cult leader nonsense, and the episode comes to an end. Well, we've reached that point in the video where we have to decide if this episode was a great watch or a hate watch. But like last week, this episode is only getting a debate watch designation from us. This episode was highly anticipated, and it just missed the mark for us. The Order 66 escape was underwhelming after it's been teased for so long. We are not some of those people who need to have some big-name, well-known character show up in a cameo to save Grogu, and in fact, we think it would have been a bad move on Disney's part. But what we got still managed to be pretty lackluster. This Kelleran character who showed up apparently plays some Jedi in a kid's Star Wars YouTube channel series or something, and I can't think of anything more Disney than chucking this guy into this scene all of the fans are waiting for and trying to treat this like a big reveal. We don't have any issue with the portrayal or the actor, who we guess is the voice behind Jar Jar, but it was just underwhelming. And his robes don't fit the time period with this golden trim. The robes look closer to what you'd expect with Disney Star Wars' High Republic era, an era set a few hundred years before the events of the movies. Disney's been trying to introduce this new era of time through books and comics, and everything that's come out of it so far has been pretty trash. But it all makes sense when you see what the activist brainlets who Disney hired to dream up the High Republic thought was important during their ideas session. Coming back to this specific Order 66 scene, the worst thing about this is that it doesn't feel like we got any better understanding of what happened in Grogu's past. It's just another tiny breadcrumb in his story. And put that in perspective. 4 years into this Baby Yoda era of Star Wars, we're still just getting breadcrumbs and meandering storylines from The Mandalorian and Bad Batch, all kind of touching on this idea of cloning and how that brought about Snoke and Palpatine's return. And no one cares about either of those things. Both Snoke and Palpatine's return were massive fuck-ups by Disney, and now they're just circling the drain trying anything that'll put the sequel trilogy in a better light. So many people are really at their wits' end with Disney Star Wars, not to mention the millions that have already said goodbye to the franchise. So this is not the time for breadcrumbs. Other than that, the Grogu puppet looked really cheap and stupid flying around early in the episode. It's completely immersion breaking, and the way they did the effect, and especially how they filmed it, it looked like a fan-made film. We understand that, oh, it's a puppet, and Yoda was a puppet once, so it's honoring the past. It's not the 70s anymore, a time where a puppet was really the best option. The second you see this puppet being jerked around by wires on screen, you suddenly see the borders of your TV or monitor, then the wall behind it. Then you realize you're sitting on a couch, and then you question why you're spending your time doing this. You are completely pulled out of the fantasy of it all, and it undermines any storytelling that's brought us to this point. On the positive side of things, the Order 66 scene looked good. Outside of Kelleran's robes, it all fit the time period that we remember. Even the Naboo guards felt familiar, and they used the same blaster sound effect from Phantom Menace, so hearing that was pretty nostalgic. But these two positives are still a double-edged sword, as they serve as proof that Disney can apparently only succeed when reliving events that actual storytellers dreamed up long before Disney's involvement. Lastly, the Mandalorian's jetpacking around looked good and was pretty cool for what it's worth. But overall, this episode fell flat and fell well short of expectations. Comment below, what were your thoughts on this Order 66 flashback? Are you invested at all in The Mandalorian at this point? Do you think Disney is going into panic mode over Star Wars with Mandalorian viewership down and movie after movie getting sidelined? If you haven't already, please leave a like on the video as it helps our videos reach more fans out there. And click the subscribe button while you're at it to stay up to date on this third season of The Mandalorian. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.